The goal of Data Transformers podcast is to accelerate digital transformation by bridging the gap between business outcomes and rapidly advancing technologies. And we aim to bridge this gap by focusing on data. I am Peggy Tsai, top 50 women in tech influencer, co-author of the AI book, and data governance expert.
I'm Ramesh Danta, an entrepreneur, a tech blogger, and AI enthusiast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Data Transformers podcast. This is part 2 of our ongoing discussion with Jay Zaidi, Managing Partner, Ally Data.
So one of the things what Peggy and I were trying to do through this podcast is bring different perspectives of different people, right? Some of them are practitioners, some of them have transitioned from a business side to technology side, a technology to business side. Some of them are entrepreneurs, right? Within the data space, of course. So you're one of those guys who have, I would consider successfully transitioned because you've been at it for 8 years, right? So you started your company, you survived for 8 years and you're still going strong. So you are a survivor and you are doing well. So a lot of us are in the space where we worked at a company and we have dreams of starting our own company. So if you could just talk about your transition, how was it? The specific question I want to start with, how were the first years? Like, how did you get your first breakthrough? Was it a conference? Was it your previous networking? You jumped right into a project that you were able to get in, or you struggled to get the first project? If you could talk about the first years, and then we'll talk later on, how did you scale?
Got it. So the first project, I was lucky enough where, I had a pretty strong network, and one of the senior members of my network actually had, was working in consulting, and they had recently won a pretty large contract to modernize the data warehouse and implement master data management for a very large global hospitality company. So they reached out when they found out that I have launched Ally Data. They reached out and said, "Hey, you guys have very deep expertise in data management and these areas, and we've just won this very large engagement. Would you like to partner with us and be a part of the solution team?" So that was our first big breakthrough, if you may. So we partnered with this other firm, and we were able to successfully deliver those solutions over a 6-month period, and that's how sort of I got started. But like any other business, right, the first 2 years in my mind are the most challenging, because you are trying to build credibility in the marketplace. You are trying to, I would say, create a competitive differentiation between your firm and what other firms are offering in the same space, which requires a lot of, sitting down and basically thinking through what is it that you want to deliver and how do you want to differentiate yourself, right? In our case, our differentiation was our deep expertise in enterprise level data programs, having delivered that, and I brought some of the team members that worked with me at Fannie Mae came to work with me and helped me. So we had deep expertise. And we had actually done this. So it's also, very important for us as solution providers or as service providers to be able to back up what we say. So we are not just talking theory. We're just not talking about, data governance for the sake of data governance. We've actually done it. We've been there, done there. We have overcome a lot of the challenges that, other companies face. So we are able to go in there and be able to deliver value to the customer much faster, in a timely manner, to deliver against their goals, right? So that was very important. So after the first engagement, we spent a lot of time, myself and my founding team, we spent a lot of time trying to clearly articulate what is the competitive differentiator that we are going to bring to the marketplace, and that was all around our deep knowledge, deep expertise, and our ability to deliver value to customers. So again, that was sort of the I would say the second part of our evolution. Once we had identified our competitive differentiation, The next thing was how do we scale? How do we grow? How do we acquire new clients, right? And there were different I guess options there. One was hire a sales team and then have them go and do the sales and marketing for your products and services, and go that path. The second was leverage our network, our strong professional network, and our credibility through the network, and grow that way, right? And then the third way was referrals, is basically leverage the relationships we have with our existing clients and ask them to refer our services to their peers and other companies that might be in the similar sort of situation. And what we learned and what we consciously decided to do is go down the path of the second and third option. We really realized that hiring a sales team to do this type of sales and marketing is really, really difficult, because you need, in order to go into and talk to a client and sell them services, you really have to be an expert in this, so that you can talk the language of the client and really convince the client that you can deliver. So, unlike a product company where, a product, set is clearly defined, you can have some salespeople trained on there and deliver. We felt that, that may not be the best fit. So we went down the path of reaching out to our network, reaching out to the senior leadership members that we have, chief data officers, heads of data, etc., and go down that path. And that has been very successful. So a lot of our business comes that way. And the third angle was, again, get referrals. So, after we deliver on a particular engagement, we request our clients and the leadership team there to actually help us provide referrals, or even help provide a kind of a case study, if you may, that we can use on our website and through various channels to highlight the fact that we are able to deliver value to the customers. So that's typically how we have grown and scaled. And again, our goal, and something else that I wanted to highlight, our goal is not about how many billable staff that we have, right? That has never been our mission. That has never been our bottom line. Our bottom line and our mission is all about how have we added value to clients. And we typically take clients one at a time. We don't believe in volume. So I'm not interested in going out there and signing deals with 20 clients. I'm very happy working with 2 or 3 clients, but our goal is to make sure that, that we are delivering value to the clients. We are being a trusted partner to the client, so that the client feels like, they can lean on us and they can rely on our expertise. And we want to make sure that we are bringing the right expertise to the table. We are just not throwing bodies at the problem. We are actually bringing the right people to solve the problem for the client, and not bringing in an army of people that may or may not be skilled or may not have the right expertise to solve that problem. So we are extremely focused on quality and extremely driven by tangible value that we can bring to the customer at the end of the day. And to us, that is what makes the big difference. So when we walk in there, the customer is stressed, the customer has certain problems. When we walk out of there, we want the customer smiling and saying, yes, you guys came in, you helped us solve a very complex problem. We're really happy with what you delivered. And we are going to call you back, to help us solve other problems that we have.
I mean, that sounds like really the smaller approach, the really personalized approach. And it completely makes sense since, you're really selling yourself as the data expertise and not relying on a sales person that doesn't know data to be the first face of engagement.
Exactly.
I actually also wanted to ask you, I mean, so you've been in the consulting business for 8 years now, and I know a lot changes.
6 years.
6 years, okay.
Sorry, it's 6 years, 2014, 6 years? Yeah.
2014, okay.
Yeah.
I was picking on Ace.
Yeah, actually, I was wrong. Yeah.
That's okay.
6 years, a lot has changed. I just think about, the last 6 years of my career and, a lot that I have learned. What new influences do you see that's really changing the way chief data officers are now approaching the problem of solving data governance? And I ask you that because I have my own thoughts, but wanted to hear your ideas.
Yeah, and that's it is a very difficult question on the one hand, but also having been in the industry for a while, right? Change is a constant, as we all know. This and the data space is changing very fast, and it's for very good reasons, right? And I'll give you an example: AI ML, which was something that has been out there for a while, has now lately taken on a significant importance within organizations. And I think that's been very good, because there are certain tasks and certain processes, etc., that can be automated. And AI ML allows you to do a lot of that, right? Whether it's pattern recognition, whether it is trying to solve some very complex problems, right? Now, in terms of your question related to CDOs and how they have evolved and how they're trying to solve the data governance challenges, it is, again, governance is something that is, I think, misunderstood in many cases, because when companies initially introduced governance, it was more considered like a big brother kind of activity. Well, we're going to come in with a stick, and if you don't abide by these policies and don't follow these guidelines, etc., we're going to ding you, and then you're going to be in trouble, right? But I think that sort of strategy has not really worked really well, because people don't react positively when you're coming down with that with that kind of a mindset, right? And when you're constantly using a stick. So what we have realized, and one of the things that we recommend to our clients, especially the chief data officers, is to focus on the value component and focus on risk management and risk mitigation for the enterprise, versus sort of the stick. Say, well, I have the audits back, and I'm going to come, if you don't follow this. So that is something that has been, that's the evolution that has happened, and more of the chief data officers are now focusing on the value component of that. Well, why do you need governance? Well, we need governance because we want to make sure that the quality of data within the enterprise is good, right? And that we are enabling that through better governance, better accountability across the enterprise, by being proactive in terms of how we are measuring and monitoring things, etc., right? Also, governance is about making sure that you have the right people that are subject matter experts, who really understand the data, who really can, understand how it's used, where it's used, why it is used, what are the compliance and regulations around that data, etc. That those people are now being empowered. They are, call them data stewards or data custodians. Those key, stewards are in place, and they act as resources for the organization, number one. They also act as first line of defense for the enterprise. So if bad things are happening, and for example, you're in the security space, right? You have CCPA and GDPR compliance. Guess what? The average associate within the organization has very limited understanding of what the implications of CCPA or GDPR are, right? But if you have a data governance program in place, and you have designated data stewards, and you have designated people who are focusing on privacy and security, for example, now you have the ability to actually take those regulations, translate them into real things, whether it is through standards or through policies, and then have a mechanism by which you are pushing that, you're raising the level of awareness, and you're also executing on those regulations in a consistent manner. And that could be a combination of process and tools, right? Such as Big ID or such as others, some of your competitors. And those are the things that we are starting to see, right? Where chief data officers now have to become change agents, and not just become change agents, but also have to start tying the work that they're doing and the projects that they are introducing to the end goals, whether it is reducing risk, data-related risk, data privacy risk, data security risk for the enterprise, or whether it is adding value through operational efficiency, through better insights from data, through making sure that there is a clear accountability for data within the organization. So I am seeing that trend happening now, and that requires a lot of work. Like we've discussed. Introducing change is not easy, right? And if if chief data officers are going to be change agents, they have to really be at the front end, educating, raising awareness, highlighting the business value, highlighting the risk-related aspects, and then working with the various stakeholders to implement the necessary change to make that happen. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I'm seeing that sort of transition now happening.
Yeah, you have answered my question, and I agree with you. I think chief data officers have a lot to balance in terms of, defensively what they need to ensure for a sound data foundation, making sure that, things like master data management is completely taken care of, and then manage the offensive, analytics and things like that to get the value, to prove the value, right? Because they're constantly having to show value. Otherwise, their role is,
they're not relevant. Yeah, they become irrelevant. I mean, that's the nature of that C-suite, right? Each of the members of the C-suite have to bring tangible value to the organization in order to be able to gain the credibility and respect of the board and of their peers. And also, at the end of the day, right, every business needs to grow and needs to innovate, needs to be efficient, it needs to show value, create value, etc. And I believe chief data officers can play a very, very important role in doing that if they have the right strategy, if they have the right mindset, if they are bringing the right sort of value proposition to their role, and using their role to drive change and introduce change within the organization in a positive way, right? And it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy because I've been there. I mean, it's a very challenging role to be in because you're trying to balance a lot of different things, as you mentioned, right? You have to deal with the defensive aspect, of the business, and you also have to be offensive, right? Generate value and all that through insights, through analytics, all the while dealing with some of the data debt and some of the technology debt that you may have accumulated, right? A lot of legacy systems that may have to be either retired or have to be modernized, and then new systems that may have to be introduced, along with new processes, new skill sets, new tooling. So it is it is not an easy role, but I think it is very rewarding, and it's something that every organization needs in order to get to that next level. To really be competitive and to be able to innovate using data.
So actually, so with that, one of the final section that we try to get into, Jay, is the trends, right? You guys already, Peggy asked a question about the CDO, how it's evolving. And from a business side, if I could focus a little bit more, right? So we touched upon the AI, ML, it's, insurgence, emergence is like one of the key driver, both from a technology perspective, also, it's very well integrated into the business side. So as a final segment or final few questions, what are you seeing as the business drivers? We talked about the standards and those things, right? Apart from that, are you seeing anything from the business with respect to digital transformation that is driving more of a data discussion?
Yeah, and we are certainly seeing a lot of that. I mean, there is a desire on the part of the business to be able to leverage the data that they have access to better, right? And by that, I mean not just being able to create better reports or better business intelligence, but be able to do better predictions, better forecasting, right? Better looking into the future and seeing how are things, what is going on? Can I use historical data and can I use data that I have today to actually predict what's going to happen and forecast what's going to happen, right? And I'll give you a couple of examples. We just did some work with a financial services company in the Midwest, and they have 4,000 customers, and they've been in business for about 4 decades. And they realized they're sitting on a lot of very rich customer data, right? But they did not have the right tools, and they did not have the data quality in place. They did not have the right sort of skill sets to actually take that very rich customer data to figure out and identify what is the customer behavior, what is the customer's buying patterns, right? What are the customers that are most likely for us to be able to cross-sell and upsell to, because they have, dozens and dozens of products. But not having that insight into the buying behavior of the customer, not having insights into the, what are the most valuable customers to us, right? And what type of products have those customers bought from us, et cetera, was actually limiting their ability to go in there and maximize, right, their ability to cross-sell, upsell to those customers. So we were able to actually go in there and come up with a strategy to allow them to do that, right? To take this very rich data that they have, standardize that data, normalize that data, and then generate insights from that to be able to get there, right? And the business was anxious to do that, right? Another example that their head of sales gave us was that, again, they have a sales team that is very distributed, right? And they were saying, look, in order for us to be efficient, we would like to centralize our sales team, and we also want we want to create these small sales teams that will go in and service dozens of our clients, right? Rather than having a single salesperson or sales team focus on a single client. Now, that is a major change to the business model into the way they were doing business, right? And their underlying data and the way they were structured really did not support this new model, if you may, right? So we had to actually go in there and develop a strategy for them to help their sales and marketing team figure out, how do I take the current model, which is a very direct sales model, to this new model where I can have a central organization that's supporting multiple customers, etc. So these are real challenges that clients are facing, and they are actually the solutions are not that complex, right? But it does require some specific skill set. It does require some underlying capabilities for them, to be able to leverage that data, right? And again, quality always comes up. So you may have a lot of customer data, but if that customer data isn't standardized, isn't normalized, is not very clean, you're going to have challenges when you try to generate insights from that data, right? Yep. So we work with the clients to come up with a holistic solution that doesn't just focus on the end goal, but we also focus on the plumbing, if you may, right? So in order for us or for them to get the maximum value from the customer data, they really have to start figuring out, okay, how do I make sure that this customer data is clean? How do I proactively introduce certain processes that will allow me to get this standardized and normalized data to enable my business partners to get that value from the data?
Interesting.
So these are the types of things.
Yeah, it's basic blocking and
basic block and tackling. Yeah, and then once you have that, then you're able to work with the business to build these new forecasting models, to bring these new predictive analytic models that will enable the business to really do a much better job of sales and marketing, much better job of cross-selling and upselling products, much better job of customer experience. Because a lot of times, by mining this underlying customer data, you can actually identify the types of problems that your customers might be facing, right? It could be with certain products. It could be with the way you are providing services around those products, etc. So again, there are a lot of benefits that the business can get, and a lot of business users are actually looking for these type of capabilities. And that's where we also see this introduction of self-service analytics, if you may, right? So enabling and empowering some of the power users on the business side by providing them with the right tools, by training them in these tools, and by giving them nice, clean data so that they can actually do a lot of the heavy lifting that is currently being done by IT team members or by BI engineers and BI team members.
Thanks, Jay. From what you said, it really starts with having the right
data strategy in place, aligning business strategy with data strategy, and really executing it. And having things like self-service analytics and governance are, just, some of the byproducts of having
Are
that.
critical. Yep. Yeah.
Critical.
And they're absolutely critical, right? But if your foundation isn't strong, which is around data governance, data quality, reference data, master data, and it becomes very difficult for you to build on top of that, to get the right insights to generate the kinds of insights that you need, because you're constantly going to be spending a lot of your time cleaning up data and fixing it, rather than spending time on actually analyzing data and getting the insights and acting on those insights, right, to generate value.
So I really appreciate all of your comments and really your time today, Jay, for really talking to us and sharing with us about your experience and about what you're seeing in the data consulting space today. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to reach out to Jay and talk to him with Alley Data. So thank you very much, Jay, for your time.
That's good. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Peggy.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Jay. I think we covered a lot of spectrum of entrepreneurial journey as well as the data journey. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and I look forward to hopefully many more conversations related to this topic, because this is an area that's I'm passionate about, and I know you are passionate about as well.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard today and would like to hear more, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite player like iTunes and Spotify. And please do rate our podcast. Also, please go to our website, www.datatransformerspodcast.com, for more episodes, blogs, and information on our speakers. Thank you.